Welcome to the Black Mirror Podcast.
Join host Ho-Ho as he discusses the riveting Netflix original series,
Black Mirror. Now, here he is, Ho-Ho-Ho.
Broadcasting from the Cottage Studio, welcome to Black Mirror Podcast, and as always, I'm your host, Ho-Ho. So how y'all's doing? I hope you're doing good. I really do. Today, we are revisiting Season 4, Episode 6, titled Black Museum. And as always, spoiler alert, if you have not watched this episode yet, go ahead and tune in. You will not be disappointed. Even if you've already watched it, watch it again. It's a good one. But, you know, this one, not as much of a spoiler alert as usual, especially on the last episode. But we are going to be touching base on some things. But the majority of this episode is going to be spent exploring, you know, just the stuff, you know, the technology. You know, that's more or less what we're going to be exploring on this one. You know, the implications. You know, just how close are we to some of this crap? And I'll tell you what, we're dangerously close to, you know, bridging the gap, if you will. Dangerously close. I mean, holy cow, we're dangerously close. Now, whenever I first seen the title of this one, I was not skeptical. You know, I kind of figured, you know, that this would be an episode that would, you know, tie in some things, you know, just not introduce, but it would link to other episodes. And I was right. You know, I mean, it did. In the first minute where the protagonist goes into the Black Museum, you see referenced, you know, through, you know, objects that you see like 4, maybe 5 different episodes, like right there. But, you know, just the allure of this episode is in all the Easter eggs that are strung out within the Black Museum itself. I mean, there's several episodes, you know, that are referenced in, you know, objects and, you know, some of the display pieces and whatnot. And of course, you know, the technology that they're utilizing in this episode is technology that we have seen in various forms and stages throughout the series. You know, several different episodes, you know, that dealing with the same thing that they're dealing with here. You know, not just in episodes that we have already seen, but in episodes that are yet to come in season 5. You know, obviously I haven't watched season 6 yet. Can't wait to, you know, watch season 6. I'm excited about it. I really am. You know, just so many episodes that are referenced in here. Now, this one is no different from all the rest of them because, you know, one of the things that I like about Black Mirror is that each episode is its own story. You know, you don't have to watch each individual, you know, episode in series, you know, in episodic order in order to understand what's going on. You don't need to do that. And that, I think, is pretty awesome about the series, in all honesty. You know, but I got to be, you know, I hate how they do it. You know, I mean, you go into the episodes and, I mean, it's just like it's backwards ordered. Everything is backwards, or it's ridiculous. You know, I mean, it's why they do it that way. I have absolutely no idea. You know, normally you got, you know, one all the way down, you know, the first one down to the last one, and you just hit play and it'll just keep on going. And there you go. But this one, it's like the last one's first. You know, and it's like it's reversed order kind of a thing. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, you got to go to the top of this season, and then once you get done with that one, then you got to go to the top of season 2, go down, don't go back into season 1, and then you got to go to the top of season 3, and then go down. I hate how they, you know, how they arrange the episodes and the seasons in this series. That's my biggest pet peeve with this one. But you know, whatever. Let's get into it. Now, this one is an intriguing storyline. I mean, it really is. References different technologies, different things that they've done. And, it's neat. I mean, it's interesting, and in a matter of speaking, I see two sides of, both sides to this argument, because I mean, I don't know how you view things as far as the afterlife goes. I mean, I personally do believe in a life after death, and that this is something that, isn't just a spiritual thing, which I'm not, navigating that aspect of this, but this is a scientific point of view as well, because Albert Einstein, once energy is created, it can't be destroyed. It can only, dissipate, so I mean, that very much leans, to a sort of life after death. What exists on the other side? Does your consciousness survive, within your soul, or, what have you? I mean, these are, just questions that we have, that we explore. And, this one, like, several other episodes as well, kind of touches base on this, especially San Junipero. What is your belief system on this? But the most intriguing part of it, though, is it's bridging the gap. I referenced, I made this reference earlier, bridging the gap. Bridging what gap? Bridging the gap between a computer and your brain. It's being able, I mean, think about it. Your brain is a hard drive of sorts, It is. It's a biological computer. Bridging the gap between a typical computer, or, however you want to call it, a mechanical computer, and a biological computer, that's what we're talking about here. Because that's the part about this that is intriguing, amazing, and terrifying, if you will. I mean, I watched, gotten my hands on some information just earlier in the week, talking about, how I forget the technical term of it, but basically measure, looking at your brain activity and whatnot, and, whether an AI can basically translate what you are seeing and make an image off of it. And surprisingly and scarily and terrifyingly enough, it didn't do a horrible job. And it got the gist of what it was that you were looking at. And then also using AI to type out your inner monologue. I mean, holy cow. And it wasn't bad. It did a pretty stinking good job of translating your inner monologue. This isn't text to speech. I mean, this is using your brain to actually just communicate to it. Holy crap, the implications of this technology is amazing. I mean, think about it. People that, are mute, can't talk, people that are, various levels of comatose, I guess you can say, but people that are just locked inside within their own mind, actually being able to communicate with people using this kind of technology. That's amazing. I mean, holy crap, but the terrifying aspect of this is, what if the government got its hands on it, and no longer using things like, or at least not just, a lie detector, actually using this and interpreting what it is you're actually. I'm like, dude, think about it. And this is scary, terrifying, holy crap, at least this aspect of it. But it's you can use all kinds of mind games on people with, not with using this kind of thing, but you don't want to think about something, and the more you focus on trying not to think about it, holy crap, you're thinking about it. You want somebody not to think about, or if you want somebody to think about a purple elephant, what do you tell them? Don't think about a purple elephant. Now, what are they thinking about? A purple freaking elephant. It's just one of them type of mind games. Yeah. And of course, this is technology that once it comes out, best of intentions, sure, and the road to hell is paved with it. Isn't that what the saying says? And it's only a matter of time before it's misused. But I mean, this is something that, with artificial intelligence and, what have you, this is the existential crisis that we're having, right? And this is something that even Elon Musk talked about, with the development of computers and AI. I mean, it's going to come a point that, it's the problems are going to arise. I mean, this is the thing that they talk about in so many different movies, from iRobot to Terminator to, just a myriad of other ones. And even, throughout the Black Mirror series. I mean, this is something that's talked about, but it's the thing that they say is that you need to start taking these things into consideration now, because by the time you understand or that you see that it's a problem, it's going to be too late. By then it's going to be a huge problem, and this is one of them aspects of, who are we dealing with here whenever it comes to this technology? Are we dealing with somebody whom is so focused on can we do it and not focusing on should we do it? That type of, argument. And depending on which way you lean on that determines how many safeguards you're going to put into the technology in the first place. It's just, wow. But we're getting to a point in our understanding of the brain and how it works and other things. I mean, we're getting to that point to where, being able to map out somebody's consciousness and, realistically and, at least somewhat accurately being able to translate somebody's inner monologue. I was like, holy cow. That to me, whenever I found that out, I wasn't surprised, but I was still, I'm like, because I know with technology, I mean, we have no idea what they're working on. I mean, let's face it, scientifically speaking, we have no idea what kind of stuff they're working with, what they're actually able to do. And, even in robotics, I mean, robotics has jumped leaps and bounds, like in actually having humanoid type robots, not just 4-legged, but 2-legged, and being able to do things and making them more humanistic, humanoid, I guess you can say, more accurate to the human body of what we are accustomed to looking at. And, AI putting that in there and making them more and more lifelike and believable. And, I mean, holy cow, how far we have advanced in this technology is just, it blows your mind. It really does. But bridging the gap between mechanical intelligence, artificial intelligence, if you will, or just being able to download somebody's consciousness to a hard drive, like what they talk about on this episode and numerous episodes besides that. I mean, that is just, wow. Intriguing, amazing, fascinating, terrifying. I mean, wow. So, yeah. Where do I go from here? This one kind of went off the rails kind of quick. You know what I'm saying? It kind of did, because, I mean, the mind just goes in so many different directions trying to, just looking at this whole thing. And it was one of them things watching this episode, there was no linearness to it. It wasn't an A and a B and a C and a D. I mean, it wasn't, it was quantum, like just the whole thing was just boom. My mind was thinking several things at once. It's like, holy cow, it was like, wow. Because, one of the things that they talk about in this episode is, taking somebody's consciousness, somebody that was, more or less, I guess she was comatose, but she was still completely aware of her surroundings and, being able to, integrate, using a yes and a no to be able to simply communicate, and then transferring her consciousness into the consciousness of her husband, that had a child, and then, being able to feel, and that's actually something that I thought was interesting. I very much did. The premise of this was, you only use like 60%, or not 60%, only using like, excuse me, like 40% of your brain. You have 60% that's unused, and you can basically pack somebody else into your brain and have them as a, more or less somebody who's there, who can feel everything that's going on, and somebody who couldn't interact with the outside world, but could, or at least not communicate with the outside world, but could communicate with you. But one of the questions I had on this was, how would you know? Would there really be that type of limitation on there? I mean, if you actually was able to put, somebody else, two people to inhabit the same mind, assuming that, that type of thing is even possible, how would you ensure that that other person didn't have control, bodily control, verbal control, whatever? How would you know? I remember back in the, I want to give, a little bit away on how old I am. I am aware of that. I don't care. And I don't remember what the name of the movie is, but it had Steve Martin in it, and he's like walking down the sidewalk, minding his own business, and an urn falls out of a window. And I don't remember if it just hit the ground right next to him or hit him. I don't remember that it actually hit him. I think it hit the ground right next to him. And then basically it was that person was locked inside him, and obviously with it being Steve Martin, it was a comedic type of a movie, and it was a good movie. And it was, two people inhabiting one body, arguing on who was going to be in control, and I mean, you would almost think that would be what would happen, that just seems, I can't believe I'm going to put it like this. I mean, that just seems more realistic to me, an obvious problem that could arise, I guess. So how would you ensure something like that? Like, I got no idea, but that's something that you would think could be an issue, I guess you can say. I don't know. It's just, it's weird. It's weird. But one of the things that they do touch base on and talk about on this episode is, like and other episodes to boot, but, putting somebody's consciousness into a, like what happened in this episode was putting somebody, well, actually it was the same story that I was just talking about, because they ended up putting, because of obvious problems, they ended up putting her consciousness into a teddy bear, and that bear, having, external receptors to where, she could still get, physical feedback from what was going on to this bear. But as far as being able to communicate with the outside world, that was something that was way more restricted, And in a matter of speaking, I mean, like it was almost surprising, right? On how restrictive it truly was. I mean, like you think about things in today's day and age. I mean, how would you, how could you even think it would be okay to put somebody's consciousness that would give them a level of immortality, as long as that, device, whatever you had them into, was still, had power, was able to function. I mean, it would give you a semblance of immortality. How could you think it okay to basically only being able to communicate two different emotions. You know, and the museum director had, you know, said that now, you know, at the time that this was taking place in, that was illegal. You couldn't do that anymore. You had to have at least 5 different emotional responses that you can do. And this one, in all honesty, is like the base level of technology that we're talking about, because in several other ones of these episodes where this same type of technology is being used, I mean, you've got, you know, just full on communication that can be had, you know, a speaker that, you know, and microphone that you can fully communicate, not just with a yes and a no, a happy, a sad, you know, a green light, red light, whatever. I mean, it was a full on, you can communicate openly, outward, whole 9 yards. You know, and you would kind of expect that. I mean, this is going to be a technology that you're using. If you got the technology to put somebody's consciousness into an inanimate object, why would you limit responses like that? It didn't make much sense to me, you know. But at any rate, you know, that's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. You know, point is, yeah, you know, it's scary, amazing, and just what are they going to come up with next as far as where we are now with technology? You know, I mean, we've gone so far, you know, and I really wouldn't be surprised if we do have, at least in some way, shape, or form, the ability to transfer human consciousness. I mean, I really wouldn't be surprised. I mean, especially with what I found out earlier this week. I mean, like truly being able to, you know, like for an AI to be able to duplicate what you're looking at, to be able to, you know, transcribe your inner monologue. I mean, how amazing and terrifying is that, to an accuracy that is terrifying, you know, just, so I'm like, I really don't have much doubt that at least in some way, shape, or form, maybe a you know, rudimental and, you know, one of them things that we got work to do, obviously, but I wouldn't be surprised if we've actually been able to do it, you know. And how long ago? I mean, holy cow, I have no idea, but it really wouldn't surprise me if those are the things that we can do now. And I mean, I would assume we've been able to do it for at least some time, especially considering that it's coming out that they can do it. How further have they advanced this technology? You know, how close are we, and how have we already done it? That's my question. How far have they actually been able to do it? Have they actually been able to put one person's consciousness into a computer, download it, be able to interact with it, you know, and what would it look like? You know, to you, you know, I mean, if you were the consciousness that got put into whatever, you know, what would that type of an existence look like? You know, I mean, in the series, in the episode, I got to take a drink. You know, in the episode, it's, you know, the gal, well, numerous gals and guy, you know, they were like in a big empty room in what you would think would be a comfortable looking chair, you know. And in one of the cases it had your, you know, your happy face and your sad face, and that's what it was. You know, but considering, you know, would that type of an existence look like that to the, you know, to the person that is inhabiting, you know, let's say in this case with the teddy bear? Is that what it would look like? Or would it almost be like in the movie Chappie. Good movie, by the way. I definitely recommend, checking it out, I mean, it's not exactly an action pack. Some of it's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, it's, it talks about this kind of thing, transferring consciousness. In a matter of speaking, I didn't like how they utilized it, but, how sound is the technology that they're talking about. But anyway, would it be you're sitting in this empty space, viewing it through a big screen TV, the world around you, or considering we are used to inhabiting a physical body that, your feelings, the touch reciprocal things that they had on that teddy bear, would you, instead of a physical body, be a bear stuffed animal body? I mean, is that what your existence would more or less equate to? And that, to me, makes more sense than how they, did it in the show. And I mean, of course, I guess it would be a little bit difficult to adequately, give the impression of what was going on, I guess, with the people, if that's how they did it. But at the same time, it's like, what would that type of an existence look like from the inside? How, I don't know. Another one of those, that's interesting. That's intriguing. I wonder, what would that type of an existence look like? So here we go. Here's where we're at right now. Half hour into it, and I think we've pretty well covered what I've wanted to talk about on this one, because it's the technology that just amazes me. I mean, it really does. So here's my questions for this episode, okay? Realistically, how close do you think we are to being able to, and I know this is a question that I've asked numerous times, but how close do you think we are to being able to actually transfer somebody's consciousness, into a computer, into, even somebody else, I guess, just to be able to truly transfer somebody's consciousness, like the whole thing, your memory, your knowledge, who and what you are. I mean, how close do you think we are to truly being able to do that? And I mean, there's been several movies about this, Surrogate, I think, was one of them, a Bruce Willis movie. Just with the whole exploring immortality in this kind of a way, transferring consciousness. I mean, it truly is something that like the implications alone is just wow type of a thing, Altered carbon is something that actually kind of, having an empty shell of a body just waiting for somebody else's consciousness to go into it. I mean, holy cow. How would that work? Would that be possible? Could you use this type of technology to accomplish that? I mean, wow. Yeah. Excellent episode. Highly recommend watching it, checking it out, And a fun thing to do in this one is really look at, and you really got to look at. This is something that you really can't watch, especially the first half of this. You can't watch just once. You really can't. Because part of the things that I find interesting in this one is all the Easter eggs and all the different ones that you can tie in and see, and okay, this ties back to this episode. This ties to that episode, and be able to do that. That's one of the things that I found fun this time watching this episode, was looking for all the Easter eggs inside the Black Museum. That was, to me, pretty stinking fun. And there was many. All right, so the next episode, we are going to go to the interactive film Bandersnatch. Now, guys, I tell you what, this movie was absolutely amazing. I mean, it really was. In a matter of speaking, whenever I first watched it, because I didn't just, I was anal retentive whenever I watched this. I had a notebook in front of me. I wrote down the question and the possible choices, and I navigated the whole thing. I don't want to say I did it methodically. It wasn't like always choose option A and then always choose option B and then just go through different things. No. I didn't go through that methodically with it, but I definitely kept track of what I did, what the results were. And, and I changed things here and there. I probably watched the thing in a matter of speaking 3 different freaking times just because of just the sheer number of options that are in that thing. Holy crap. So we are going to be revisiting Bandersnatch next time around before we get into season 5. And I believe season 5, I'm definitely doing episode 1, Striking Vipers. Oh yeah. Smithereens, no, I don't really care. But I am interested in Rachel, Jack, and Ashley too. But I don't know if I'm actually going to do that one before I go into season 6. So next episode is going to be Bandersnatch. Going to be watching that one, having fun with that episode, because that one really is, not episode, but movie. That one's a treat. So, that's all I got for you guys on this episode. Y'all have yourself a great one, and I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Black Mirror Podcast. If you would like to join the conversation, you can comment on this episode at Spreaker.com or go to thehohoshow.com/forum in the discussion board for this season.